The time is now, folks. 2023 season upon us, and that means Georgia football is this weekend. Look, there's so much to talk about. I know I'm ready. Kobe, Keon, I know y'all are ready. I think everyone else is ready. Let's do this. Welcome into the DGD podcast, guys. We have a absolutely loaded show. Just because we play UT Martin, folks, does not mean to take this show lightly. Just going to leave that there. Obviously, Project Pat in the building. Jeff Hightoff starting us off hot and heavy with the Your Team is Trash, Keon. Suck on it. Calling Humphrey pick six. It's starting off hot. I like it. We're going to preview this weekend's matchup, right? 6 o'clock SEC Network Plus. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about some keys to victory for Georgia. We're going to talk about some players to watch out for, things to watch out for, and then the DGD pick'em. So stick around. Make sure to like and subscribe if you're watching. Leave us a review, folks, if you're listening. Kobe. I want to ask you, since you're a former player, sir. First game jitters, is that real?
100%. I mean, you can definitely, you've just come off back-to-back natties. You're excited to be back home. It's first night game. You got to realize something, and this is something that Kirby does a good job explaining. A fourth of this team has never won a national championship. 2/4 of this team has only won one national championship. And then, so in that same case, 2/4 of this team has never played a night game in Sanford Stadium before. The freshmen and the sophomores have never played at night in Sanford, and they're going to get to. And so there are jitters. I mean, when the lights go off, you've seen it as a recruit. They're going to flash the LEDs. They're going to turn on the red. They're going, light up Sanford. It's going to be a lot of guys' first time seeing and experiencing all of that. So there is going to be a lot of that excitement for that. And then there's a ton of excitement that I get to go hit somebody that's not wearing red and black. Like, I'm tired. I've had spring ball. I've had summer workouts. I've had fall camp, that all I've been doing is running my head into or running routes against somebody on my own team. I'm ready to go take out that, annoyance, disdain for the process over and over again. I'm ready to go take it out on somebody else and make them pay for all the hard work I had to put in all off season. So there are some jitters. There's going to be a ton of excitement, a lot of emotion. Always important to kind of control that early on.
Yeah, I always worry about those first game, obviously with Carson Beck being the quarterback, right? Depending upon if Georgia goes on defense or offense first, I always get those jitters, and I feel like right? You're going to get that false start to start the season, and you kind of hope that you don't. But again, and I think Cedric has said that the same thing, right? Understanding, getting to hear the claps and things like that. Once you get that down, it changes and everything. Keon, how are you feeling about Saturday, sir, overall?
Oh, I'm so excited. I can't wait for it. Uh, you're going to see a lot of big plays, man, honestly. Um, we talked about it briefly last show where I was like, I'm sorry, UT Martin. But then again, we had to realize they paid for this to happen. So good luck.
Actually, we paid for them to have
this. Oh, yeah, we paid. Yeah, we paid to have this happen. So good luck.
I'm just going to leave this right here, though. It's code red. I'm just going to leave that there because Krypton will be very, very exciting to see on it. Even I don't care if it's not on ESPN or whatever. The fact that in that fourth quarter you get the lights out and you're playing under the lights is going to be absolutely breathtaking. Again, because we hardly ever get these things, so you have to cherish the night game when you get them.
Absolutely.
I don't care the opponent. I don't care the opponent. I really don't. And I know some people do. Understand that Kirby Smart doesn't like these 6 o'clock under the light games. He just doesn't. Kobe, I know you probably understand that too. I mean, it impacts recruiting, right? There's an impact there to recruiting and stuff too. Kurt, he just doesn't like it. But as a fan, we get to sit back and just go from there. And with that being said, Project Pat asks Kobe, what does that Krypton Red feel like as a player when it happens?
Yeah, I always think about the first time against Notre Dame. I mean, it just was unbelievable. I mean, just the experience, the fact you have 100,000 fans, you're playing Notre Dame for, second time in 3 seasons. You've been up there, you've seen the red wave that happened up in Notre Dame, and then now you're at home, and, I would say upwards of 90,000 of the 100 are Georgia Bulldog fans. And then all of a sudden, to start the fourth quarter, all the lights go out and the neon red turns on and they light up Sanford. I mean, it's unlike anything I've ever been a part of. Got to be a part of it a couple more times before my playing days are over, and then been in the stands for it a couple times. I mean, it's just a surreal moment to kind of look up and see all those lights and know that all those people are fans of the team you play for, the university you go to, and even fans of you, even if they don't know your name. I mean, they still love you, wish you the best, hope you all the success in the world. So it's just really cool to see.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we don't get to see that as much on the TV broadcast, but at the same time, right? It's what makes Sanford Stadium, right? It's kind of a newer tradition, but something that was kind of easily accepted, if you will. So there's always that right there. But let's jump into this, man. Keys to victory. Well, actually, not even that. Let's hold off and let's just talk about this preview, right? First game of the season for Georgia, right? There's obviously some key battles that we're still waiting on, some injuries that we're trying to hear more out of, if you will. Keon, I'm gonna start with you. What are you, in regards to this matchup Saturday? What are you looking forward to seeing?
I'm looking forward to seeing how dominant the defense is, honestly. And honestly, our offense. Honestly, it's our offense. I want to see the different shots that Carson Beck takes downfield. That's really what I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, I mean, Kobe, what about you, man?
I would say that I have a very, very similar tune to Keon. I would say that most Georgia fans are going to have a similar tune. Carson Beck, his decision making, his ability to progress through reads and deliver a good ball against lesser competition, so the windows should be a little bit more open. And then the defense, I think everybody's interested to see who's going to be at DB, especially if Kamari Laster's kind of banged up, may not go all day. Could be a big day for the 2 and 3 cornerback that's been kind of battling for that second spot. And then the defensive ends and outside linebackers. I'm excited that I don't think UT Martin is going to be able to throw the ball away quick enough like a lot of teams did to us last year. Like, I'm wanting to see some guys get to the quarterback. I want to see Samuel Mpemba. I want to see Michael Williams. I want to see, all these guys rushing the quarterback, converging at the quarterback. I'd love to see, 5+ sacks on Saturday, just to kind of set the tone of like, okay, we found ourselves some outside linebackers that can get the quarterback, and we're coming.
You know, I look at it this way. I want to see some pressure from the interior, right? Obviously, losing Jalen Carter, right, being the 3 tech, how's Georgia, defensively going to replace that kind of production? Because he was a disruptor, right? So, I mean, there's a plethora of guys, right? I mean, whether it be TID, whether it be Logue and Stackhouse or Brinson, right, Walthour, all these guys are willing and able, right? I want to see some of these guys get some good reps and I mean really be able to rotate guys into, right. Come out of this game injury free is the plan, right? That's the goal. Get these freshmen, get these reserves some key reps, right? I think our schedule, not getting too far ahead, but our schedule this season will benefit us by being able to more than likely do that. But I think this is a game where you make a statement, get ahead early, play the game, and then rotate guys in. I don't see a reason why you don't rotate 6-7 guys on the defensive interior. Every edge rusher should get a chance to run and see what they look like. And honestly, if I'm Schumann, if I'm Trey Scott, I'm looking at different personnel groupings, that bode well chemistry wise. Kobe, you know how this goes with, especially along the offensive line, but defensive line works as well the same, right? You kind of have that chemistry and cohesion. And again, in the defense, right? Secondary, thinking it's probably going to be Julian Humphrey. Ready to see what that looks like. I think you're going to see guys rotate in that cornerback 2 slot, right? I think you look at Dalen Everett. I think you look at Nyland Green. How much rotation do these guys go for, right? How much rotation does Kamari Lassiter get out? I think Georgia's so superior from a talent perspective that I think you can kind of do almost what you want and still see what you need to see. Would y'all agree on that defensively or no?
100%.
I think, and this is going to be my honest opinion, I think that the biggest thing for me about this game is kind of last year you saw where we can kind of sleepwalk through lesser opponents. We have started both years of the Natty run against a Power 5 school at a neutral site, kind of with something to prove. Something to prove against Clemson, something to prove against Dan Lanning and Oregon. I think Kirby's probably been pounding in these guys' heads how good and respectable UT Martin is and how well we're going to have to play. And I believe that. I mean, call it, part of the brainwashing up at the organization. But you can't go out there and turn the ball over 2-3 times. You're going to be in more of a dogfight than you want to be. I would really like to see us come out early. Mike Bobo is super known for kind of having a script for the first, drive, 8-10 plays script. I would love to see us come out with a little tempo, go down, score early, get the ball back, maybe go up 14-0 quickly in the first quarter. And, to me, that's going to set a good tone, like you're saying, to then be able to get in other guys in the defense, other guys in the offense. You just don't want to kind of sleepwalk through the first half and have to jog some starters out there only up 21 in the third quarter.
Well, I want to do this. This is a perfect time to transition to the offensive side of the ball. First off, I'm going to do something real fast. Keon, prepare yourself. Actually, just let it happen. You got Carson Beck. You've got Brock Bowers, Lad McConkey, right? And Cash Jones, right? And there's something about these guys, and I just want to let y'all hear this.
These white men are dangerous. No one is to go near them.
I mean, it's the fact, man. It's the facts. It's gonna be high speed, high velocity. I think, especially coming out there. I do agree. Kobe said it that Bobo has a script where he kind of doesn't want to deviate off of that, at least for the first drive, especially 8-10 plays. You're gonna see a couple of guys make moves in transition. I'm excited to see how Bobo goes about working with Brock and Carson this year. You're going to see a lot of Lad McConkey this season. I just hope people are ready.
I'm sitting here thinking about this, guys. I want to pose a question for y'all, right? With Bobo being back at the reins calling the plays. What are the chances? I want to see what y'all think, what y'all's thoughts are. Do you think that Georgia goes run on the very first play, or do you think you see Carson Beck let him loose and let him take a shot? What do you think? We'll start Kobe and then Keon and then myself.
I think it depends on opening kickoff. If you fair catch it and start at 25, you're going to run the ball. If they kick it a little short to Mekhi Muse or somebody, you get a big run out to like the 40, get some momentum. Then I think you're going to see. I think the one thing Bobo probably learned from Monken is in big times of transition and big momentum swings, it's the perfect opportunity to take a shot. I mean, Todd Monken was the man on. If you got an interception, if you got a turnover on downs, you best believe that next play is a home run beater.
I mean, think about it this way: you got Florida at the cocktail party, right? That barrage of touchdowns, if you will. Then you've got last season, you got the Tennessee game, right after that big change at the short field, right? Taking advantage of that point with the Lab McConkey touchdown. I think the guy's still trying to find his ankles, by the way. Hell, I don't even know what happened to him. He might still be on the field looking. But, again, I think you were right, though. Todd Monken being able to capitalize on these, I guess you could say the momentum, right, from big plays. That was something that he specialized in. And I think Mike Bobo can do that as well. I feel confident in that, right? We've known Mike Bobo's confidence when it comes to calling home run shots, right? Against an opponent, though, I do have a hesitancy to think that we do open up vertically immediately just because we don't want to give too much away. There's some hesitancy there that might be the case. But again, I think you need to get Carson Beck as comfortable as possible, as fast as possible. And what better way to do that than sitting there, stepping back in the pocket, operating your offense regardless of the opponent, and just being able to go through the reads, the progressions against somebody that's not your own team. If you can do that and get him comfortable, then you start looking at South Carolina like, all right, this is going to be easier. Again, you look at Auburn week 5, you get him ready for a road test, right? There's a little bit of situation there. But again, I think you got to get him comfortable. Keon, what do you think?
Cash Money Records taking over from the 99s to the 2000s.
Shut it, wiggle with it. Oh,
no, but seriously though, I think that we have been a team that's been well known for our running game. I do agree with you that Carson Beck does need to get more acclimated as soon as possible, but let's not deviate from things that we know that work here for sure. And especially with everything that Kirby has said, going through this offseason, hey, Cash Jones is looking like that guy. He's looking like that guy in these camps. So especially even in the scrimmages. So don't be surprised if you see Kirby decide to go with the run game to intro it out and then follow it up with Carson Beck dropping back.
Well, I think something to note here with UT Martin is their defensive situation. They run a multiple front defense, right? So sometimes they can go even, sometimes they'll go odd front. And I think that's a good thing for Carson immediately to come out of the gate seeing multiple different styles of offense in the first game, right? Understanding what he's looking at and going from there, right? Because there's going to be situations if you run the odd front, you got more linebackers in coverage or a star potentially too. Whereas if you have that even man front, right, you have a more typical style, right, pass rush and things like that. So I think it'll be interesting to see how he processes the multiple defense, and which I think is another good thing immediately off the rip, starting at especially as him being his first season as a starter. But
perfect drive, 12 to 14 plays, 75 yards, touchdown. 6 to 8 runs, 4 to 6 passes, and let him get a little warmed up. Let the offensive line push on some people, lean on some people, and kind of march down the field and score. Not necessarily quickly, but just march it on down the field. Let everybody get loose, like you're saying. Let a little bit of those nerves shake off from the big first game, and then kind of let it roll from there.
I do think, now that you brought up the offensive line, right, I think it's good for them to hit somebody that's not that Georgia defensive line. I think they'll have their way for what it's worth. Looking at the depth chart, right? You look at UT Martin, and they're not the biggest guys, right? I think you look at maybe one of the guys is just over 300 pounds. A lot of guys are 280, 290. For what it's worth, I think Georgia offensively on the line should have their way in the run game. And regardless of the running back situation, I do think that there's going to be some wide open runs brewing, if you will. And then again, we saw it at G Day. We saw this last season. Their propensity to push the pile. If a running back gets caught up, I wouldn't be surprised to watch the guys just dog pile and push for extra yards. I mean, I think that's going to happen. I think that's a staple from Stacey Searles on this offensive line. Keon, what do you think about? I mean, what do you think about the offensive line situation?
I definitely agree. I think our offensive line is definitely going to have their way. Y'all have heard me say it before. We got the best offensive line in college football, especially when you're telling me there might be one or two guys on that D line that is 300 pounds. Yeah, you're about to get moved wherever the hell they want to move you.
Yeah, I mean, Kobe, hearing that right there, I think that's something that probably it's going to matter. Just reading off some guys here, their from a defensive standpoint, I think it's interesting to hear their defensive end, Dalen Dodson, 6'3", 280. Nose tackle is 6'2", 280. That's a nose tackle. Defensive tackles, you've got 6'3", 290, 6'3", 250. That's some small guys from what Georgia's used to seeing. And I think if you look at that right there, that offensive line should be able to push and make a lot of havoc, really, just create a lot of havoc for that defensive line. I think they're just going to be physically outmatched, just size-wise, too.
It's nothing short of big brother bullying the little brother is what we're about to see this weekend.
And another thing, we talked about our Georgia's offensive line. Talk about the Georgia defensive line. Here's your depth chart for their offensive line, starting from left tackle: 6'4", 290, 6'5", 310, 6'2", 290, 6'2", 300, 6'5", 305. That size right there reeks of getting around guys. I think your tackles might be a little bit more athletic because they're smaller potentially, but I think that our edge rusher should have a field day. And interior, I expect some huge plays.
Whoever lines up against the guard and center should have a big game.
I mean,
two guys that are 6'2", under 300 pounds, you just at some point should have a big game because at some point, like, you're used to taking on such bigger, harder double teams than that for much longer armed individuals. You should be able to swat those arms away. They should be fairly short at that size or fairly short armed, and should have a lot of plays. But big thing is you're going to be able to keep them on you if you need to. Let linebackers be able to make plays. The worry is always that those centers are athletic enough that they get up to the second level with pretty good ease. Just got to slow them down and let the athletes behind you make the plays.
Yeah, I do think that is an interesting point too, right? With the lack of pure, just size, right? Like you said, the ability to get to the second level, it's going to look a lot. It's going to pose some situations for Pop and Xavier Sori, right? I think overall, though, when you look at Xavier Sori and the outside linebackers, I think they're fast enough to get around those guys, especially if they try to go in space. But you have to be sound when you have to see those blocks coming. So if you can shed those blocks, I think you're okay. But again, I think it boils down to them being shorter. And again, even the linebackers, right? Some of those linebackers, our linebackers, are basically the same size. Well, not weight-wise, but height-wise. And if that's the case, just should be able to block and shed tackles. I think you're going to have to do that from the linebacker perspective. But again, I think, Kobe, you hit it right on the head, man. Interior-wise, should have a huge game. And I think that's going to create a lot of one-on-one matchups for guys outside of whether it be Michael or Chaz. Again, you can see the rotation and have Damon Wilson and Mpimba Darius Smith could see some run there too. Jalen Walker, however you want to go. I do think that it opens up the one-on-one situations. And I mean, if they try to keep running it short, your linebackers are going to flow, right? Javon Bullard will come down quick, close in, and force him to hold the ball. And I think if that happens, it's just going to get ugly quick. It just seems that way.
No, I'm definitely with you. I mean, just like I said, man, like honestly, you're just gonna watch our and honestly, the side that I'm more excited to see is honestly our defensive line. I mean, they're gonna be getting to the quarterback like they're running out of time almost. Like it's I just hope UT Martin is ready. Honestly.
Well, for what it's worth, I don't think it'll matter. But again, I think Georgia has to be ready though.
Yeah.
It seems like obviously looking in the past, right? This whole season has been focused on, getting rid of the complacency, fighting, right? What better way to show that you've been able to do that successfully than to come out against a superiorly inferior team and just impose your will like you should? You like that?
Superiorly inferior. I like that.
Look at that. But no, I mean, I think that's something that Georgia's got to do, right? Which kind of bodes well for our keys to victory. But first, we got our first sponsor of the night. We're going to switch it up, guys. Alumni Hall, right? Bringing game day to you, every piece of apparel, game day accessory, or whatever at a time. Check them out at Alumni Hall UGA. That's Twitter and Instagram. Go to dgdpodcast.com. Drop down from the shop menu. Check out Alumni Hall. Keyword, I don't know if y'all saw it, but they've got some new stuff coming out tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. Stay tuned because it's fire. I'm just going to let y'all know that right now. It is fucking fire.
Are we all getting a pair?
Yes, sir. I mean, I'm going to buy mine. I mean,
no. I feel like Nelly right now. I need two
perks. Yeah.
But yeah, no, in all seriousness, thanks for supporting the show, Alumni Hall. Guys, keys to victory. What does Georgia have to do to win this game? Keon, I'll let you go first.
Dominate. Offensively, get down there, death march down the field. We need to see how strong our offensive line is going to be, how serious our running backs are as far as being ready to, of course, recognize the gaps in coverage and then make plays off of it as well. Carson Beck, I'm ready to see him slice up this defense. It's time for him to cook that shit up, Quay. Let's do it. Woo! It's game week, man. I don't think y'all understand.
The Aki way.
Sure. The Aki way. Yeah.
Never. But no, in all seriousness, though, man, I think that matters too. Kobe, what would you say Georgia has to do to win this game?
Yeah, so gonna sound repetitive, kind of like Kirby. We just gotta kind of stay out of our own way, and that's the truth. Against a team like this, and against a majority of the teams we're gonna play this season, you just really have to stay out of your own way. You need to play clean football. Early in the season is always a notorious time. Early in the season, late in the season, notorious time to play dirty football. You look at that Clemson game 2 years ago. A lot of dirty football happened in that Clemson game. You need to limit turnovers. You need to, when you get to the red zone, you need to finish. You need 7s, not 3s. That's a huge thing for Bobo and this offense because that's something Todd Monken did a fantastic job of. He got down in the red zone and we scored. It wasn't just, we're here at the 15. We have 3 in our pocket. Let's run some plays. If they score, they score, but we're going to kick a field goal. Like, you need 7s for sure, especially in the SEC, especially against teams like Ohio State, better offensive teams. And then just need Carson take care of the ball. Don't get crazy with it. Don't force anything. You're going to be nervous. And then, let the receivers kind of get in a good groove of, it's going to be Dom Lovett's big game for him. A lot of people he's going to play in front of just need steady hands. Hold on that ball, protect that ball. It's going to be some running backs that are going to get some carries that haven't got any carries. Andrew Paul, tote that thing with 2 hands. Don't give it up. kind of thing. That's how you get beat. You know, give up 2-3, maybe not beat, but you give up 2-3 turnovers. This game is going to be a lot closer than any of us want it to be.
Absolutely. I'm gonna look at one key word for each phase of the ball. Offense, I look at efficiency. I want to make sure, right, Kobe, what you said, right? Don't turn the ball, don't make mistakes, fight penalties, don't let them happen, right? You're at home, right? There should be no reason why you get these kind of penalties, right? I mean, you might see a couple, maybe a false start or a legal procedure. You don't want to see it, but it could, right? Especially with first game jitters, people are going to be antsy to hit somebody different. You kind of understand where I'm going with that. But again, you got to calm down after that and really try to stay calm throughout and play sound, disciplined football, right? Again, like you said, Dom Lovett, all the receivers, listen, catch the ball, watch the ball, right? It's easy, right? Kirby says this all the time. Shit's easy. You know what I mean? On defense, I think you have to have discipline. Right? You play discipline. I think you need to make sure, like, play sound, play fast, understand your assignments, trust your work, trust your teammates, get to the ball, fly, swarm, all the pursuit, everything. It's the same shit you've been doing all season, right? Shouldn't be a reason why anything should be changed. Just, oh my word, look into the sun. There we go. But no, in all seriousness, and then special teams. I think another word is there, execution, right? Stetson Bennett was the holder, and then in the championship we missed that extra point when we saw that when the holder, right? That matters. Kobe, you know what I'm talking about. Execution, right? Take the snap, put it down, watch the ball go through, laces out. Pretty simple. Thorson, it's easy. I don't think we have to tell Thorson anything. Right?
Just don't be drunk before the game.
Fair enough. Stetson Bennett's not here, so he doesn't hate you anymore. So maybe it's Carson Beck hates him now.
I was about to say, I kind of hope Carson Beck hates him.
I do too.
A perfect day would be no Brett Thorson on Saturday.
I mean, only extra points would be nice too.
I wouldn't mind to give Zirkle a little squeeze to see some field goals go in, but I just don't want to see. If I gotta see Thorson, one time just to let him get a little jitters out, but at the most once.
Yeah. Do you think since we're on the special teams kick, guys? This is a show where you get your special teams love in here. Do we see any sort of rotation on the kicker? No, you don't want that. You don't want that confusion at all. Is what I'm hearing.
No, it's not worth the risk. The reward is not worth the risk. If you couldn't do it in the scrimmage and you couldn't do it at practice, we're not going to let you do it in the game.
Yeah.
Well, I do think it's. Go ahead, Keon.
I just hope it's Woodring for my own personal narratives and success of all of my fantasy football teams. Rooting for the guy. Because if not, I am screwed. Okay.
I mean, this is what
Somebody
happened.
else got served.
I think another thing, though, man, you have to understand, right? It's when you look at this season, right, through the camps and everything, both guys, right, both kickers, actually performed really well, right? Even Woodring. So I feel like, Kobe, you've said this before on previous shows where Kirby's going to trust the experience there, right? You don't want to get him shook as a true freshman, right? Might be different, we shall see, but I do think you're onto something. So it wouldn't surprise me if Zirkle is the guy.
I will tell you this. In the second half, right? And I don't know how the depth chart's lined up. I hadn't looked at it. I hadn't talked to anybody. In the second half, I would imagine that you will see Woodring get probably a kickoff. Like I would say, you may jog him out there and let him kick a ball off the tee for a kickoff.
Yeah,
but I don't think you will see him line up in a true PAT or field goal.
See, there's something I heard that you might see one do kickoffs and the other do field goals and stuff, and I think that's something that you could take a look at as well.
When our special teams unit has been the best at Georgia, someone has handled kickoffs and someone has handled field goals. Whether it be Rodrigo and Jake Camarda, or even this past year, I think Pod handled both for a little while this past year.
Pod handled.
But this is the only. That was the only year he handled both. So when Camarda was here and you could have somebody handling kickoffs, it definitely helps.
Yeah, I mean, again, I think you look at it this way. I feel like both guys looked well, so we'll see how this goes. Seed Vision says Muse will play a big role, and I think he's talking about Mekhi Muse. Excuse me. Now, listen, it wouldn't surprise me if this would be the perfect time to execute your special teams on kickoff return. Let me see Mekhi Muse get the ball in his hands with the opportunity to run it back. You start to get worried about a lot of these kickback or touchbacks, right? It's just what happens commonly now. But when you get that chance, I want to see Mekhi Muse get a chance to just get that twitch and just go. I think if that happened, you're talking about that place going fucking nuts, and I'm here for that. I'm all here for that. I think he's going to be. I think Mekhi Muse won't even not even in the kickoff return game or punt return game. I think you could see him as a receiver to some degree as well, getting him the ball in space. I think his twitch is just too good not to. So you got to find a way to get him some snaps as well. Just gonna leave that there. Good Lord, Kobe, please be careful. We ain't trying to get you arrested tonight, Saturday. So keep that in mind. Frank the Tank, if you will. But no, I mean, obviously we talked special teams, we talked offense, we talked defense. Now let's kind of transition to more specific players to watch for. Kobe, I'll let you start, man. What player are you most interested to see?
Xavier Sorey. I think he has, I hate to say, a lot to prove because that kind of sounds interesting, but I think that obviously this defense is built on repetition and knowing your job and executing your job and doing it to the best of your abilities. And, you never want to be the guy that gives up a busted coverage or a broken coverage or a missed tackle or a missed, kind of get caught lacking to give up a touchdown. Don't get this twisted. Kirby, the defense, Glenn Schumann, Will Muschamp, they want this to be a shutout. I mean, they want to come out and they want this game to be whatever to 0. They don't want to give up any points.
I could see that for sure.
I'm just guessing. Like they want this. They want any game that you cannot give up a single point. They want that to be a statement game that you came out and you may have only won 38-0 or 45-0, but they don't want them to score. So I guess Sorey is the new face at linebacker. Need him to play a clean game, know who he's covering and in coverage, know what hole he's needing to fill in the run game, shedding blocks if guys make it up to the second level to block him. Need him getting off that block and still making a tackle, not allowing himself to continue to be blocked down the field. I think he plays a very pivotal role. I think Pop plays a clean game. I mean, Pop's a probably All-American. I think because Pop is so good, it will make Sorey sometimes look even worse if he's not doing correctly, which is just unfortunate. It's not Sorey's fault, but really just a comparison, unfair comparison.
It's a testament to sound football IQ, if you will, and experience. Keon, I want to ask you, which player are you most excited to see?
Honestly, offensively or defensively?
I guess, we can do either. Either's fine.
Honestly, I'd like to say it'd be Dominic Lovett. I'm really excited to see him. I would say Brock Bowers, year 3. Defense, Janelle Aguero. 100%. Damian Wilson.
Not bad.
And honestly, Mikael Williams. That's another one for me.
Yeah.
I'd like to really see our edge play really take a step. And I think with this first game, I definitely believe they have the capability to, honestly.
If I'm going offense, I'm going Carson Beck. I think it's a super easy route to go. And I want to see him. We got a little taste of what it looks like, right, at G-Day. And I want to see him against somebody else. C Division asks, how do y'all think Cash Jones will do? I think Cash Jones will be just fine. I think he's going to get some run, and I think he'll do just fine. I mean, last year was no fluke, in my opinion. I think he's a good running back. I mean, Cash Money Records holds it down. That's just what it does.
From the 99s to the 2000s.
Y'all just got to understand.
Yeah.
Defensively, though, and also C Division, since we're talking defense, he mentions Mpemba, and that's a good one, too. I'm looking at Humphrey. And the reason I say that is because I want to see if he steps up and takes the reign of the second quarterback spot for good. It's been a battle. It's been a war at that CB2 spot, and I need ideally for someone to take the reins to start the season. And if Humphrey has that kind of game, especially in coverage, things like that, if he can help in run support, I think at that point it seals the deal, and I think you've got your CB2. So I think that's an important factor there, for sure. Kobe, do you have anybody else? I think you mentioned like a couple guys, but do you have anybody else on the other side of the ball?
I really think Carson Beck's a big one, like you're saying. The offense runs through the man delivering the ball, and right now, like, you got a bunch of sports cars behind you, in front of you, outside of you. You just got to know how to drive them all. And at some point, that's his job, and that's something that he has to do a good job of. And I think, like you're saying, if you've been through the Kirby Smart, Mike Bobo fall camp and have come out the other side with their trust and belief in you, then I have no reason to not trust and believe in you until you prove me otherwise. I think Carson's going to have a good year. I think he's going to be able to deliver the ball well. I love that he's old and mature. I mean, we got to realize this is a fourth-year guy coming in to play quarterback. I mean, this ain't just some, little freshman running out there not knowing what to do. So I think it's a good thing for him. I think that he has a big game, big first half, kind of gets flowing well. Have, two good halves against them and Ball State, and I think you'll be just fine and comfortable coming into South Carolina.
Absolutely. So Seed Vision asked a really, really good question. I think it'll be another good talking point for us. I'll pull it up here. It says, if you all could pick a sleeper team on our schedule, who would that be? Who would the sleeper team for our schedule be?
Ole Miss, hands down.
100%.
Ole Miss is the only legitimate answer, I think, on the schedule.
Yeah,
100%.
For what it's worth, if to be devil's advocate, I'm gonna go for the alternate. And I think for what it's worth, I mean, Tennessee's not a sleeper at all, right? You look at Kentucky, don't really feel comfortable with that. It's kind of hard to find. But if I had to choose, give me Georgia Tech. And the reason why I say that is this. I think we decimate them. But what I saw in the first drive, right, for what it's worth last season, Brent Key surprised me. And I think if he gets the right guys in there, he can kind of create some problems. I'm not saying they'll beat us, right? I mean, you never know, right? We haven't played. It's still, right, our first game Saturday. But I do think that's interesting because if Georgia's undefeated, is it going to be difficult to keep them focused ahead of the SEC title game, whether it be Bama or LSU or A&M, whoever? Keeping them focused, right? You don't want that. You don't want them to lose ahead of the SEC championship. Now, it might help, but I think Kirby's got something to prove on this three-peat opportunity here. That's just me.
I'll tell you, I'll defend mine and Keon's Ole Miss, and I'll counter-argue your Georgia Tech. Ole Miss, I think it's one of those teams that the reason I would call them a sleeper is by the time you see them late in the season, you're talking about a team that could be a 3-loss team in Ole Miss. And it's one of those things that normally at that point in the season, if you see a 3-loss team, it's one of those teams where you're like, okay, like they just hadn't had their best stuff. They may not be that good. They may be a little down, maybe fighting some injuries, stuff like that. I mean, this is going to be potentially an Ole Miss team with All-American at running back, 3 quarterbacks that are going to be able to do some serious damage, and a high-power offense with a guy that would love nothing but to tell you all offseason about how he beat the Georgia Bulldogs. I mean,
especially in group chat, right?
Yeah, Lane Kiffin lives and breathes to be able to troll somebody. So to be able to have a 14-1 season and have a little asterisk beside it and say, well, you lost Ole Miss, I mean, he would just eat that alive. And it's the week before Tennessee at Tennessee. It's late in the season. You're going to be a little bruised and banged up. It just has a little bit. Luckily, it's at home. I'm very, very happy it's at home because I agree with you. I think the only reason I would lean Georgia Tech is it's at Georgia Tech. It's after Thanksgiving. Like you're saying, people are going to be a little dead. But the fact that part of their staff was on our staff and some of their players were on our team is gonna, I feel like, fire up enough people over
they
here.
got Blaylock, if I'm not mistaken. They got Blaylock there and Scyther, and then they've still got Buster there as well. So I got a couple questions here. Jeff Hightoff says, "What about Jalen Walker? Excited to see him." That's another one. That outside linebacker room is going to be interesting to watch. Obviously, while Swalimundon's healing and rehabbing and everything, getting back to speed, you're looking at Jalen Walker to see if he can take the next step. Right? He excelled in pass rush situations, but now I want to see him evolve and kind of grow back into that more prototypical outside linebacker. Right? Not just a pass specialist, if you will. But we know that you can win your one-on-ones, and that's going to get you reps on the field. We know that. But again, I want to see you evolve and take those next steps. So I'm excited to see that as well, Jeff. That's a good question. Seed also says, if Carson stays another year, do you all think one of our quarterbacks transfers out? One of y'all can answer that if y'all choose to. I'm not one to put guys in the portal before they do themselves.
Yes.
I think yes, 100%. I mean, I won't say who, but I think
Right.
only common sense tells you
Yeah.
that if you have returner Carson back, Brock, who will be a rising senior, rising fourth year, Gunner, who it'll be Gunner's rising junior year, and then Rayola, you're not carrying all four of those.
And Puglisi.
Yeah. Maybe even two.
Yeah, you have to worry about that. I guess if we're not specifying names, I think that's going to happen.
Show of hands here. How many people think Carson Beck will be our starting quarterback in 2024? Okay, that also should answer your question, Seed.
I think he has. I mean, I'll make a bold take right now. I think you see Carson Beck with 4,000 yards. I ain't going to say much more, but I think he cracks 4,000 yards barely.
Yeah,
and if you do that right there, listen, if you do that with minimal turnovers, I think you have. Hear me on this little stat line. See if this makes sense. I think you look at like 4,000, but in between 4,000 and 4,100 with probably maybe 28, 29 touchdowns and maybe 5 picks. I think that right there is a draft worthy situation. And going from there, listen, if he has that type of season and we end up winning, there's no reason for him to come back unless he just wants something to prove again and go for 4 if that's the case, right? That right there would put him arguably in probably first round territory potentially.
I mean, I've already told y'all before, he's gonna go to the Heisman ceremony. I got him. That's one of my hot takes.
That's his hot take, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, if things work out that way, right? If there's no injuries, right? I think that's the key there. If there's no injuries, you never wish this stuff, but you have to be mindful that could happen. If he stays healthy all season, there shouldn't be too much of an issue with our offensive line and pass pro. I feel comfortable there. Even our running backs, I feel comfortable with pass pro. So there should be a lot of situations where he stays upright. So if you give him the time to make the throws and the progressions, go through his progressions and things like that, there's no reason for him not to do those things unless you just take the ball out of his hands.
I will say this, Seed, and this will be my hot take, and it's not one everybody's going to love to hear. If Carson Beck, if we somehow lose either in the semifinal or maybe lose an SEC championship game and maybe get left out, I think Carson will come back another year at that point. But I think if you play in the Natty, even if you lose the Natty, I think if you play in the Natty as SEC champion, I think he probably walks. Anything less than that, I could definitely see him kind of coming back and trying to solidify his spot as a national championship quarterback.
Absolutely. Guys, let's do this real fast. Last little category before we hit our DGD pickle. Player of the game. I'll let y'all make y'all's prediction. One player of the game. Who would it be? Keanu, go first.
Janelle Guerrero.
All righty then. That's starting off hot and heavy. I like it. Yeah, that's a good one. I think that'd be interesting to know, right? Like how much he rotates in will be interesting to see. Kobe, who would you choose for your player of the game?
I'm gonna go. Let's go Andrew Paul. Let's go running back. Somebody that's going to get
Somebody's
going to get a lot of carries, kind of prove himself. I mean, this is a guy. I mean, we remember this is a guy that people were loving coming out of camp last year, talking about it looked better than Branson, could be the second best running back on our whole team behind Kenny. I mean, I'm excited to see this guy run. It's going to be one of those things that, is anybody back to fully 100% a year after an ACL? I don't know. Would I love to see my man have 8 carries for 80 yards? 100%. Is that really player of the game? Maybe not, but also I feel like it just is going to kind of put an exclamation mark on, okay, we know we're a little banged up at running back, but we still got a dude back there that we kind of all missed out on last year.
Jeff asked, is Aguero even playing this week? I think he will. Now, how much, again, I think is a question, right? Not only from a health perspective, but at the same time, just getting him speed lined up into the situation. I think you're going to see him hit the field, right? It's just a matter of time and how often. So I think you do have to keep that in mind as well.
I do want to throw in an offensive one because I see we got Seed here who gave us an offense and defensive one with Pop and Brock. My offensive MVP, I would say Dominic Lovett. I think we're going to really orchestrate him a lot in our offense. He's going to help us go vertical. I would say him and Brock, honestly, would probably be the best ones.
Can't really go wrong there. Kobe, you dropped 2, did you, or did you just drop 1? I think if you want to take your time and go ahead and pick your second one, feel free, since we're dropping 2.
There you go.
What, Brock?
No, I was going to say that I just feel like it is very hard, though. I'm agreeing with Seed because, like, he's saying Brock and Pop. I think those are great picks. I just worry that they're only going to play the first half. It's very hard and something that's very exciting with all this young talent on a game like this. There is no SEC limit where you can only play 75 to 85 guys. You're going to see 100-plus Georgia Bulldogs play on Saturday. I think that the big thing is, keep your level of play, no matter who is in at that level that we like. I think if I had to pick somebody on defense, I would say it's going to be probably like a backup DB is going to be my player of the game, because if there's anybody that knows how to ruin a shutout with a busted coverage, it's a third-string DB late in the fourth quarter, up 45-0. So I'm looking at you, Mr. Third Stringer. Please don't blow an easy coverage and do the classic, oh, shit, looking over your head, and there's just a perfect ball to a wide-open receiver that you should have been covering. I don't want to give up 7 points on some dumb shit like that.
I hope our secondary is deep enough that where that doesn't truly happen, though. But we'll see. It happened against South Carolina.
It happens all the time, I guess. Yeah. I mean, I thought we were going to pitch a shutout a couple years ago against UAB, and Carson just zoom, pick 6 to the DB.
Yeah.
I mean, it just happens. Just happens.
I think for me, I'll start on defense. Give me a situation where I think Zion Lowe can be that player of the game there on defense. And I think you need that interior presence up front and often, early and often. If you can give good pressure from interior, ultimately it might change the player of the game to someone on the outside. But the importance is there. So I'm going interior defensive line. I got to give the Nasty some love there. So I'm gonna go Zion Lowe. I think Zion Lowe is gonna have a tremendous, like we said, listen to those sizes, folks. Go back and listen to not even 300 barely, right? 305, 300, not even. Just going to leave that there. And that's the depth chart. Kobe, you know how they'd look on the depth chart. It's probably about 5-10 pounds lighter.
This podcast is bigger than UT Martin's D-line.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely for sure. Right. I don't know if that's a good thing on us, but I mean, yeah.
Yeah, no.
But no, so I'm gonna go Zion Lowe for my defense. Offense, as much as I want to say Carson Beck just being a super efficient, that's the easy take, and I think that's what will happen. However, I'm gonna do something different, and I'm going to say, I'm going in the receiver category, but I'm going Ladd McConkey, and the reason why I say that is because I just think that he's got enough separation ability, creation to separate, to where he's just gonna give defenders fits, right? He's just, once you get him in space, it's too much to handle. But another name, Dylan Bell. Just gonna leave that there.
No, I definitely get you there. I think we're going to exercise him a lot. You might see him in a, hopefully a jet sweep type of situation. But I do think it's going to be very interesting to see how it goes. I'm looking forward to Dylan Bell being out there making plays, whether it be a wide receiver or possibly running back. I mean, why not? He does have that speed, and I believe he has done that before, even in high school.
I think you got to keep in mind Dylan Bell could also play some running back as well. So if he does, and you do see that opens up a whole different ballgame. Just gonna leave that there.
Most definitely.
Got a question. Got a question here. Do we get a 1,000-yard rusher or receiver this year? Also, do we get the award for the best offense? So talking about the Joe Moore Award. Kobe, I'm gonna let you start.
I didn't know we were going to address it, so I was typing my little thumbs off answering it. I said, I think we had the best O-line in football last year. I think that award was stolen from us from Michigan, from a lesser offensive line. So, yes, I do think we're 1,000% due to win the Joe Moore, and I think this offensive line can do it. I think we look at it, and the two guards, the center, and the right tackle all should be NFL draft picks this upcoming season. And then the left tackle, only due to his age, I believe, is not going to also be on that list. As far as 1,000-yard rusher or receiver, I think we will have, if I had to lean one or the other, 1,000-yard pass catcher. I think Bobo and Kirby will make a point to push Brock Bowers' numbers just a little bit. I'm not saying that, Kirby cares about the awards and whatnot, but I definitely think that to get to that 1,000-yard mark for him would just be quite the testament. I also could see Dom Lovett flirting at a very similar number. I could see Dom Lovett being 750 plus. I think it's hard to call two 1,000-yard receivers when we hadn't had one in like 20 years. But yeah, I think if I had to call one right now, though, I think it'd be Brock, just because I think that they're going to want to kind of make that push for a second Mackey that's never been done. Really should already have that second Mackey, and then the little bit of like Heisman hype.
I think it's interesting. Bobo's shown he's shown a tendency to get the ball into the best player's hands a lot. So with that being said, you look at the situation, and I think you have to take into context that, he's going to get a ton of targets, Brock Bowers will. So there is a chance, completely. So just leaving that there. Let's do this. We made our picks there. Let's talk about our second sponsor before we get into our DGD pickle. So with that being said, we are talking Apotheos, folks. Apotheos Roastery, Apotheos, Kennesaw, Georgia, the official coffee and cold brew partner of the Classic City Collective. And with that being said, scan the QR code or go to dgdpodcast.com. Go to the drop down, click Apotheos, and start shopping. Every bag or K-Cup that you purchase, 20% will go to the Classic City Collective. So keep that in mind. Support the Dogs. Listen, ain't nothing like a championship glass, a cup of coffee on a Saturday game day. Just gonna leave that there.
Woo-hoo! Bring me the cold brew, baby.
Just gonna leave that there. Tickle your fancy, why don't you? Thank you, Apotheos. Oh man. It is time for the DGD Pick'ems, guys. What better way to start the college football season off the real week one, if you will, than with Florida taking on Utah. Guys, I'm just going to leave this here right now. Here's what we've picked. Keon, I'm going to let you choose. You are the only one to pick Florida. I need you to explain yourself.
Honestly, if I'm right, then I'm a genius. If I'm wrong, we're going to be shitting on Florida. So either way, I still win in the end. Maybe just not in the pick'em.
I do think the key here is Cam Rising being doubtful, more than likely going to be out for this game, right? You have a backup quarterback situation at Utah, and you've got a terrible quarterback in Graham Mertz. So you're looking at run game. Wait a minute. The diary. How do I write my diary? I don't know. But neither here nor there. I just obviously everyone else picked Utah, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think the propensity for Utah's run defense has been a top 25 run defense. Just gonna leave that there in the past 4 years. Florida's got some damn good running backs, but that's about all they've got outside of Pearsall, right?
100%.
And their defense was terrible against the run. And they're playing in Utah, and I think that matters. JOWG would let us know about that Utah area.
We saw it earlier, JOWG. They're saying Cam Rising is in. We saw reports earlier today that he has been ruled doubtful, I think, and to even out for the game tomorrow night. So wouldn't hold your breath that Cam Rising's coming back and taking any meaningful snaps for the Utes tomorrow night. I agree. I think that this game has changed a lot in the past 24 hours since hearing that. I think that if it was at Florida, I would be on the Gator train. I think home field advantage is going to have a big thing to do with it. And it's going to come down to who can run the ball, who can establish the line of scrimmage, what side of the line of scrimmage for your team can do. Are you going to be able to run the ball? Are you going to be able to stop the run when you need to? Are you going to be able to catch the occasional play action pass off of that run? That's going to be a big thing too. I mean, you run the ball 8 times in a row and all of a sudden you take a shot on a play action pass. Can you complete that pass, catch it, and gain positive yards? It's going to be the difference in this game. It's going to be a fun one for a Thursday night. I think it's going to be fairly low scoring, and I think it's going to be fairly close.
I'll speak on behalf of Juan. It's the Gator garbage. Just going to leave that there. I'll keep it short and sweet, for what it's worth. So moving on to the next matchup, I think this will be an interesting matchup in the ACC. You've got Louisville taking on Georgia Tech, right? First true year of Brent Key at Georgia Tech, and I think Louisville's got a new head coach as well. Obviously in Bobby Dodd or Hyundai Field, I guess, or whatever the hell it is, in Atlanta. Here's how everything shapes up. Fuck them Yellow Jackets. Is what it seems like. It's pretty simple.
I'm not gonna lie to you though. I think this game is going to be extremely close as well.
Mm-hmm.
I leaned Louisville, but I think it is going to be a much different Georgia Tech offense than you have seen in the past 5 years. And Louisville, if there's one thing I know about them, you just about can't count on them for anything except beating Florida in the Sugar Bowl. That's about the only thing you can count on them for.
I do think Georgia Tech becomes more of a problem due to the fact that they've got a head coach that focuses on football and not marketing. I will leave it there. Again, everyone clean slate here, right, for Louisville. We'll see what happens from there. Third matchup. This will be fun. Colorado taking on TCU. Fresh off a national title embarrassment, TCU hosts Colorado and Coach Prime. Revamped roster, if you will, and by God, that is a revamped roster. However, it seems that, again, TCU is primed to take this game. I think it was almost a 3-touchdown favorite, TCU is. So
TCU is going to beat the hell out of Colorado. I mean, these guys are just small, like, honestly. What's probably going to make it worse is that they're going to pray before kickoff, which, they're just going to destroy them, honestly. It's not going to be – I don't think this game is going to be competitive. I really don't.
Keon might be eating crow if things change because something happens.
Yeah. I will definitely be eating crow if I'm wrong on this.
I don't wish many people's downfalls.
Mm-hmm.
But a 3-9, 2-10 season out of Colorado, you wouldn't see a tear out of my eyes. I mean,
for what it's worth, that's technically an upgrade. So, I mean,
I
no,
haven't been happy with the way things have been handled in the takeover. It was very much more of a hostile takeover at Colorado than I think, it was very social media driven, very in ESPN, the Dion behind the scenes. I just guess that's just not a way to handle building that level of trust in a locker room with your players. I think that they're going to have some good guys. I mean, Travis Hunter probably has a good game playing receiver and DB. You're going to see Cormani McClain. You're going to see if his son can play quarterback at this level.
Sanders,
yeah. Because, I mean, man's one of the, top 10 favorites for the Heisman. We're going to see. We'll see how you play with the big boys. So it'll be a fun one. I'm glad it's at noon. I'm going to be able to watch it before our game. So trust me, it'll be the one game on Saturday I will be glued into watching. I hope TCU beats them 56-7.
Because they got Chandler Morris now as well. Chandler Morris was actually the starter before he got hurt, and then Duggan took over and ran the table from there. So you bring back Chandler Morris, which injuries happen, but they did lose some defensive guys, so I'll see what that looks like. But it's year 2 under Sonny Dykes.
Johnson either.
Yeah, that's going to be an impact there. It's going to be a different. I still think TCU's just got too much camaraderie and too much chemistry at this point because there's so much turnover, and I don't care what anyone says. There can be some talented players, but it's going to be extremely difficult to do that type of roster management that fast and expect the type of expectations that people are putting on the Colorado Buffaloes right now. I don't see this turning out well at all. It'll be a trial to the fire, basically thrown into the fire for real at that point.
Honestly,
Travis Hunter will do his thing, but as a team, it won't be a good year. Probably. I mean, that's all. For what it's worth, again, we've kind of expected it. We've had more realistic expectations. We'd like to think, but we shall see. Keon, if you've been in Twitter Spaces, folks, these people have been talking reckless all off season. But it's the battle of the Miami. It's a confusion bowl. Miami Redhawks of Ohio, by the way, take on the Miami Hurricanes. Ultimately, everyone thinks the Canes take this. I just think, listen. Oh, hold on, wait a minute. Pause. And Kobe holds it up for this week.
They don't have to. They're winning, so I can't break it.
Listen, I think Miami needs this win to kind of set the tone for their season. Tyler Van Dyke looked terrible last year, and I think a lot of that was. I mean, if you think about it, Josh Gaddis was horrible for them. So
100%.
You let him go. You let him go. I think you see some kind of regression back to the mean in a positive way for Tyler Van.
Uh-oh.
Technical difficulties.
He may be gone.
But I will say this to add to what he was saying about Tyler Van Dyke. I do think that Josh Gaddis definitely did mess up their whole situation that they had there. Along with that, you're going to see solid steps from the defense. I think that's something else that I feel like Miami was missing defensively. They weren't as aggressive as what I feel like a lot of Canes fans would feel that they should have been. I just think that their offense is going to be a lot more simple than what it currently is, and I think it's going to work out for them. I think Cristobal is going to get those offensive linemen ready. I like their running game this year.
Yes.
I watched their spring game, and to me, their running backs are guys that I just saw jump out of there for them, along with welcome back.
I like to be in on top.
Pause. Sorry about that. I had some technical difficulties real fast. So, again, though, I think the wind's getting bad here from the Hurricanes. So, by the way, everybody that's in the path of that, please be careful. Prayers out to y'all.
Most definitely. Stay safe, man.
Yeah, no doubt. Let's go back to it. I guess we need to get back into this thing here. Next matchup, guys. Virginia taking on Tennessee. Them good old Volunteers. That's another team I heard talking reckless this offseason, man. God almighty.
They deserve it in this game.
Fair enough.
Joe Milton might throw for 550.
And I mean, listen, I think it's a clean sweep for Tennessee. Listen, I think their defense. I think the key for me is to see how their defense looks, right? In a sense of, do they look somewhat better? Because if they do, then you'd look at all eyes to Joe Milton as well. I'm not necessarily sold on Joe Milton just yet, but I'm not saying he can't do what Hendon Hooker did.
Give me like 42 to 28. Just enough points that I'm kind of doubting you, but you scored just enough points, so you're kind of feeling like you won convincingly.
Yeah.
I mean, you never know. I mean, listen, Virginia, I don't trust Virginia more than I can throw them because they got Tony Elliott. They keep that in mind.
Yeah, that's a big thing there.
I'm not a fan of Tony Elliott offensively, and even as a head coach yet, but we'll see. Again, clean sweep for Tennessee from those picking. It could get ugly quick. Boise State taking on Washington, a battle out west. I think this will be an interesting matchup, but I think Michael Penix and handles business. Sorry, Keon, you also picked Washington as well. I don't see that. I mean, I don't see this being too much of an. I think it's more of a statement game for Washington, right, to show the dominance in the offensive game. But I see what their defense looks like too.
Yeah, no, I do. One of the things that I do like from Washington outside of Michael is, of course, their options at wide receiver. I think he's going to really utilize that coming out. I think that their defense, though, I do like their corner. I like their DB room, to really be all the way honest with you. I think they're going to take another step. Overall, I just think this is just going to be a dominant game that you're going to see from Washington, and they're going to come out on top.
They quietly produce NFL cornerbacks, if you've noticed.
Yeah, that's a fact. That is a fact.
It is insane. You wouldn't think it, but that's what happens. So
100%.
There's that. Guys, we're starting.
If this was 2012, I may have picked Boise State, but I think Washington's a little too much for them.
This is true. We're starting to get into the juicy ones now, man. The really good ones. Got LSU, Florida State. This is going to be a good one. We have LSU taking it, but the Brigade, something happened, and our poll was like 400 votes. This was almost an anomaly, and I think the Florida State folks somehow found this and took this over because it was a convincing like 80% Florida State over LSU. However, this is why your vote matters, because now Florida State is picked to win by the Brigade where everyone else has LSU. We shall see. And listen, if any indication from last season, right, that game last season, you lose Mason Smith, you lose Ali Gay, right, first game, and that mattered. And I think that ultimately changed the tide of that game. Mason Smith, if he stays healthy, Harold Perkins in that situation,
Big Perk.
Back, yeah, dude's nasty.
And
both teams are stacked for what it's worth.
I was about to say, I could go back and forth. I've been back and forth all week. I'll be honest. If we were not picking this game until Saturday morning, I would probably be back and forth. I'll probably change my mind Thursday, Friday, Saturday morning a lot. It is just going to be that good, I think.
It should.
I do like it, honestly, but I would have stood solid. I think LSU has it. Yet again, with everything that they just had to overcome last year, from getting a quarterback out of the portal, from their head coach not even really having a full off season to really go through and recruit. Now you give them more opportunity to get guys through the portal as well, but also kind of fill out their roster. Keep in mind, they didn't even have enough to fill an 85-man roster. They still don't. Brian Kelly's a hell of a coach, and I think at the end of the day, those Bayou boys is going to come out on top. Siri, play next.
LSU doesn't have 85 scholarship players on their team right now?
No, they don't.
At the moment, no.
Holy cow.
I will say this, though. I think the X factor for this game is Jaden Daniels, and I'll tell you why. Mm-hmm. If his legs could immobilize, or neutralize, I should say, Jared Verse, and if he's able to get away from Jared Verse and kind of take him out of the game by just getting around and moving, I think you really start to look at, Malik Neighbors taking advantage of being able to find open targets, use his feet to run. It's going to be a good damn game.
I'm so glad it's a standalone game too on Sunday night.
Yeah, that's prime time.
Pour me a little brown liquor. Let's get it after it.
Oh, talking about driving out to Pappy there, huh? Another ACC matchup here, guys. All ACC. Clemson going to Duke and take on them Blue Devils with Mike Elko in year 2. I was back and forth on this.
You're big Mike Elko fan here.
Dude,
Mike Elko.
I chose Clemson in this matchup, and I feel like it could literally go either way. I am holding significant reservations on Clemson's offensive line. I just am. Not saying they can't get it done, but I need to see what they can do. Mike Elko changed that team in year 1. I expect it to continue to build from there. I just feel something about it, and they're playing at Duke. Duke was a 9-win team last season, and if it wasn't for a last-minute touchdown, they could have won 10 because they could have beat UNC in his first season, right? I think this is a statement game for Duke if they can handle business. But I just think the reason why I chose Clemson was their defensive line. I think Peter Woods has a breakout game his first game, and it creates so many problems. That's just my feeling, because on paper they're more talented. Clemson should be more talented. But I think you have to find that one guy to make plays and key plays, and I think Peter Woods is going to do that. I think Peter Woods is the truth for Clemson. I'm just going to leave that there. But again, I think their problem is the offensive line. I need to see. I'm holding a reservation there. What would y'all think, guys?
I mean, yet again, their defense to me is really the shining star. Yet again, you mentioned Peter Woods. I do think he's going to have a dominant game. Honestly, I'm really excited to see what Kate Klubnik does and how the offense works. I know they replaced their OC, so I'm really excited to see how that's going to really work out for them. They got a Riley, so everybody needs to be paying attention to it. So I think it's going to be a good game.
That could be the home run hire.
Coming out on top. Oh, 100%. 100%.
I think he utilizes Will Shipley the way you need him to be.
A good year or two at Clemson, I mean, he becomes a head coaching candidate almost immediately.
Instantly, yeah.
Very well, yeah. I think you're right.
I think that this is a game that Clemson's offense's game to lose. Clemson's defense.
I think you're right on par with that.
Clemson's defense will not let them lose this game. Clemson's offense may not let them win this game. That will be, I think, the deciding factor. I think Riley comes in. I think they're jump forward to the 21st century. They play good ball. I think this isn't really an overly close game, but you come out, like we talked about, you can't run the ball, can't establish the run, can't pick up third downs when you need them, and a turnover or two here or there, it just can be a killer. So
it's not that far of a stretch for me on this, though. If you know your deficiency is your offensive line, a good coordinator will scheme plays around the weakness to strengthen that up. So what I mean by that is getting short little screens to Will Shipley, doing things like this right there, right? Get those guys running rather than, right, if you're having issues pass protection, get them running, get them in screens, run the ball. You got Will Shipley and Phil Maffa, by the way. Two good running backs there.
Clemson by 3 scores.
I mean, I'd say probably 1 or 10 points, maybe. I think it could be that kind of game. I think Leonard Riley for Duke can kind of keep this game interesting, but I think ultimately I think the defense is going to be the key there to see if they can contain that offense. Defensively, I like Duke, but I just don't know. Clemson's defense could be too much for offensive from Duke. We'll see. But ultimately, we take Clemson.
42-14.
Look at that.
Not even close.
Battle of the Carolinas. Drake May and the Tar Heels taking on Spencer Rattler and Beamer Ball. I think this will actually be a fairly interesting game.
I was surprised. This surprised me.
Yeah.
Everybody's in on Beamer Ball.
And the reason why, I mean, if anybody wants to jump in, I'll tell you why. I think I just don't trust UNC's defense and their offensive line. Because I feel like their offensive line, every year since Mac Brown returned, they've averaged 40-plus sacks a season. They've given up 40 or more a season. That's terrible. Mm-hmm. if UNC wins this game, Drake May will literally have to carry this team, and they also don't have Josh Downs, by the way.
Yep.
However, on the opposite side, glaring weakness at the offensive line for South Carolina and their running back position, where they're basically converting Dak Joyner to running back from receiver. Not saying it can't work, right? I think it can, but it's going to be interesting, and you're going to rely on Spencer Rattler. But I think the key here for me is special teams.
Yeah,
special teams. Well, I think you could see that, but at the same time, I do think that Juice Wells will be the impact player to win them the game. Close one.
Mm-hmm.
Last team with the ball wins the game.
I think that's possible for sure.
I think South Carolina has this in the bag.
Ooh, in the bag.
Let's
hear it. Let's hear your score. Let's hear your score in the bag.
I'll say 31-17.
I could see that. Dude,
31-17.
Hear me, and here's why. C Division's got this perfectly put down right there. That UNC defense is hot garbage. They're all you have to understand. They lost Robert Dilworth. They lost Storm Duck. They lost Dre Bly. They lost a lot. Now they brought guys in.
But I don't know that South Carolina's defense is a lot better.
You might be right.
They lost some big guys. The NFL to the portal.
To what it's worth.
They lost their tight end to Florida State. That's something I forgot. That's something I forgot about.
Yeah, they bring in Trey Knox. They did lose Van, though, which I think that's – speaking of, Josh Van goes to Florida State. So going back to that, LSU, Florida State, that's another tight end weapon that they've got Jordan Travis there to throw to. So, man, that's gonna be some good games, guys. I think this will be a good game, though. I think South Carolina – everybody has South Carolina winning. Again,
y'all had to keep me updated on this game because it's at the same time Georgia's is, so I'll be in the stadium, not being able to watch it.
Hot take. All right, best one of the game. UT Martin taking on Georgia Bulldogs. Guys, it's not even close. Clean sweep, Georgia. I think Georgia handles business fairly quickly. I think I'll go ahead and give my score prediction. I didn't put it on the graphic, but we'll do this right here. Look at Kobe dropping them rings up in the natty little man, oh man. I think Georgia starts their three-peat chances fairly easy with a dominating win. I'm gonna go 50. I'm gonna say 50, 52 to 6. I think they just get into field goal range toward the end. They get a couple field goals, maybe. That's about it.
I'll go with 52 to 3.
Kobe, you got a shutout or what do you think?
45 to nothing.
Let's do it.
45 to nothing.
Goodness gracious, guys. Who's ready for our locks of the week? So this is not brigade related. This is us four as co-hosts. I'll talk for Juan. We'll start off with Juan. Juan's lock is Stanford over Hawaii. He will actually be in Hawaii. He's not here because he is traveling first thing in the morning to go to Hawaii. So safe travels there. But he has Stanford over Hawaii. And I think that's a fair lock. I have Ohio State over Indiana. Kyle McCord is named the starter. So we'll see what that offense looks like. But there's too much talent at the receiver position for them to lose this game. Kobe, your lock is Baylor over Texas State, right? Why'd you pick that matchup?
Just traditionally, Texas State has been one of the bottom 10 teams in all of college football. Baylor's really good team last year. Been a really good team the past couple of years. Had some ups and downs. Should have beaten TCU in their matchup with them last year. I like it Baylor to really kind of bounce back. I think they're going to be competitive in the Big 12, so I think they'll kind of dog walk Texas State and kind of get off to a good season.
This is a make or break year for David Randa at Baylor, by the way. Keon, you've got Michigan over ECU. You just think they just bully their way to a win?
100%. I just think that Honestly, just death march down the field, honestly. With that offensive line and their running back room, I think they're more than dominant to take over that defensive line and honestly get them playing to their tempo and their pace. Yet again, keep in mind with the accelerated clock, there's drives, there's moments that are about to be taken out of the game with the moving of the chain. So as long as they can dink and dunk their way down the field, they're just going to just punch them square in the mouth.
Yeah, I think you're right. I will say this though. So for on behalf of the scoring, so the locks, if the locks hit, we lose no points. However, we do have to worry about them losing because if our locks lose the game, you have to a 2-point deduction from your total scoring. So keep that in mind as we move to our upsets. Where for your upset, if your upset hits, you get a 2-point increase, right? You gain 2 points. But if your upset misses, no harm, no foul. We'll start off with Juan here. Juan, with a bold one, has ECU over Michigan. I can't even explain why he chose that. I think he just hates Michigan for some reason. I'm okay with him hating Michigan for that reason.
Altitude sickness. We'll blame it on altitude sickness on the way to Hawaii.
Jet lag. Keon's got San Jose State over Oregon State. Explain that one. I think that's an interesting matchup there.
I think it's going to be a bounce back game for them coming off of their week 0 loss. I do think that they're going to be in a better spot when it comes to facing Oregon State. I just don't have faith, of course, with DJ Uwe Ugly Man under center to kind of help them move forward. I think it's going to be a difficulty for him moving the ball down the field. I honestly think they're just going to be able to San Jose State is going to be able to capitalize.
Well, I think that's an interesting one. Kobe, your pick was Houston over UTSA. Explain that one.
You know, UTSA had a big year last year, lost a lot of guys, a lot of talent. I think they were a 10-plus win team last year, if I remember right, maybe even 11-plus wins. I think this is going to be a close game. It obviously, the spread kind of talks about that as well, but I think Houston gets it done. I think it's, wins by a field goal, maybe wins by a touchdown, but just enough to get me those 2 points I'm going to need. Maybe the only team with 2 points this week on the upset alert.
Maybe. You know what? I know I'll go with mine now. I've got UConn over NC State. Losing Devin Leary will be interesting to see how they bounce back from that. Coach During there in Raleigh's got a good team. I do think that. I think they're built defensive first. But I'm curious to see Jim Moore at UConn. And I'm not saying he'll win the game, but I think there's a chance there. Again, that's, we don't really know what NC State is going to look like, but I just picked that one. I thought it would be interesting to see. Apparently, Juan is smoking some Pineapple Express, I guess, based off of this pick, this upset alert, if you will. And, I think Juan puts pineapple on his pizza. I'm just going to leave that there. I think that's simple there. Juan would pick Buford over Michigan, but it wouldn't be because they are underdogs. I think you're right. Oh, my God. Guys, so there's your picks for the week. Upset pick, lock of the week. Any final words, guys? Listen, Saturday's coming up a couple of days. You got football starting tomorrow all the way through Monday. It's a damn good time to be a college football fan. Any parting words? Kobe, I'll start with you.
Yeah, let us know if you watch this video on YouTube, if you listen to us on podcasts. Let us know. Do you think our picks were good? Were they accurate? Are we stupid for not picking your team? It's going to be easy on Monday. You look back and go, these guys are idiots. They missed a ton of picks. We'd love to interact with y'all. We love to argue. Love to defend ourselves. Go Dogs. I'm ready to start this run at the third.
Man, I'm ready for a fucking three-peat. You're right. Flash them titles up, man. You got them titles. You gotta be careful. Oh, look at that. That's one, 2, 3. Better never rest, folks. It's been preached since SEC Media Days. Been the theme for the team all season. I think this year it's going to bode well for that, right? I think the complacency can easily set in looking at our schedule, being that outmatched. I think outmatching a lot of these guys. But fighting that complacency is going to be a season-long thing. I think you got to keep these guys focused every week, and I think Kirby Smart's got that situated. Looking forward to Saturday. Looking forward to tailgates, right? I think everybody here, if you're going to the game, is probably going to be a part of it. And it's just good. It's a good time to see some football, right? Some actual meaningful football, not replays, not historical games, real life, real time football. Keon, send us home, my man.
I mean, like I said, this is going to be great. Talking season's over. I mean, I came into this podcast listening to G Herbo, who run it. And that's just really where Georgia is right now. We're running it. So to the rest of these teams out here, who you think you ahead of? Not us. And your team is trash, and you have to deal with that. Let's go, Dogs, baby. Ow!